ala Rasulihil Kareem. Amma Ba'd. Qaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah, in his message, told the nation, and I quote, "My message to you all is of hope, courage, and confidence. Let us mobilize all our resources in a systematic and organized way and tackle the grave issues that confront us with grim determination and discipline worth of a great nation." Father of the nation always considered the betterment and welfare of the people of Pakistan. As psychiatrists, our main concern is, you will agree, with the mentally ill and mental health. Now, all of us present in this house would agree that being mental health resource persons, our main focus, as I said, is mentally ill and the victims of colossal stress in this country. Hence, let me begin the consumer's perception of the mental health. This is based on various studies by Pakistani psychiatrists and psychologists, as well as from the press. The particular aspect of consultation that are important for psychiatrist patients is considered by many consumers as a neglected area. For example, in their words, doctors should listen to us. They make final decision about diagnosis, which many of them don't. These psychiatrists, we expect, should provide us with symptomatic relief. The psychiatrists do not incorporate and ask for our religio-spiritual needs and belief systems. And I'll highlight this a little more in my presentation. And access to the resource specialist is extremely difficult in time of crisis. Treatment is becoming more expensive. And a sizable mentally ill cases are living comfortably with their symptoms without any medications. Some of you may agree. And taking some of the lesson from Dr. Uneza Niaz's presentation, the gender preference. Many women in Pakistan, they feel they should have preferably female therapist. Ladies and gentlemen, since September 2001, Pakistanis have been pushed into international, religious, economic, and political wars, which has resulted into 7 major problems. The socio-economic problem, the educational problem, the healthcare problem, religious problems, the identity problems, political problems, and the human rights problem. I shall try very briefly to highlight only those aspects which are pertinent to the entitled subject this morning. The socio-economic problem. One sentence may be enough. The 90% of wealth is owned by 10% of people in Pakistan. Poverty bomb and price hikes. All of you are aware. The educational difficulties, there is decreased literacy rate. There is no nationalized or no national standardized educational system, and the education is unaffordable in modern education is not affordable for poor people. That is why many people go to madrasas where they are afforded free education and food and shelter. And the healthcare system, everybody knows. The infant mortality rate, inadequate care of pregnant women, infectious diseases due to poor sanitation and natural health disasters. Now these are very open findings. Now, to speak about the mental health issues in front of this August gathering will be nothing but repetition. However, what the society generally perceives and is periodically displayed by the press is presented here. The press predicts and tells us that when the psychiatric patient visit to a psychiatrist, when they show violent behavior, they are suicidal, they have nervous breakdown in their words, and when they have drug dependence issues. Mental illness is still stigmatizing. There is insufficient mental health prevention. There is a large gap between the official stated mental health policy and the services delivered, and the few number of workers who are trained and supervised in mental health care, they are very few. And there is mismatch between the needs and the health services, as depicted by Dr. Afzal Javed, particularly in the rural areas. I would consider there are almost nil facilities in Pakistani rural areas. There is increasing prevalence of mental health problems in children. Anjum Bashir gave a wonderful workshop yesterday. And this we feel in our Pakhtunkhwa province. The people from Pakhtunkhwa province and probably Quetta, they may be witness to me, and they would witness that there is an increasing rise of children under stress and the children with depression. There is also increasing mental health issues in the elderly, and also the substance abuse problem is gaining a public health proportion with increased risk behavior. Now, the ladies and gentlemen, now the crisis in mental health. This crisis in mental health scenario is as evidenced these days and in the recent past, the Afghan refugee problem, the earthquakes, Kashmir, the internally displaced persons of Swat, the recent floods, and then the extreme traumatic stress as is being witnessed these days by tribal and civilian population of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa through drone attacks, Waziristan, the suicidal bombing, Peshawar and rest of the country, and Karachi target killings. ये कौन फिर से उन्हीं रास्तों पे छोड़ गया, अभी अभी तो अज़ाब सफर से निकला था. Mr. Chairman, let me at this point in time, and it's pertinent to discuss something about terrorism and mental health. The act of murder-suicide is the product of psychological disorders in majority of cases, as I perceive, although the specialist opinion may be divided, and they are. A little attempt at psychopathology may be helpful, not in detail, not in depth at this stage. As terrorism becomes a major issue on the international scene, and when in particular our region is currently badly affected, it is pertinent to note that it may be appropriate to say that psychology and psychiatry are two major important tools which are not part of the technical arsenal against terrorism and are not used. While I feel that the United States is spending billions of dollars in the war against terror in Afghanistan and Pakistan, I suggest if US spends only $1 billion in the field of mental health in this region and a similar amount for the provision of educational facilities, there would be a definite and stable change in the existing scenario. I was impressed by David Kingdon's this morning's presentation about cognitive behavior therapy. And I think the root cause of violent behavior, I feel, if the families are educated and if we tell the people that whenever an idea comes in the mind of anybody to hurt somebody physically, emotionally, and financially, if this idea comes, it is the time to go and see a psychiatrist or a psychologist. This idea may be promoted, and for this purpose, NGOs, communities, including mosques, and the government leads mobilization. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to touch a bit very sensitive issue of religion as it is related to the mental health. Before I do, let me clarify that the basis of Pakistan was Islam. Pakistan and Islam are intertwined. Pakistan is the fort of Islam. Pakistan is and will remain as an Islamic state in the world, inshallah. And why the West produces objections on this Islamic state when they already have a Jewish state in this part of the world? What is the harm? However, then religion is, I believe, a benefactor, and the believer is beneficiary for most people. Some believers, some of us, reverse the prevalent religious models in society. Now, through a devious reversal of the role models, the believer is provided with a platform to satisfy the leader's decisions. He or she can alter the mainstream religious parameters of the believer's conduct. As the benefactor of faith, some believers feel free to interpret their religion the way they like or he likes. They can now set their own mission, or he can even raise his own militant wing, be its commander, and declare war on the imagined enemies of his faith.